Ancient China. The introduction of silk production can be traced back to around 640 BC in China. Si-Ling-Chi. The most common tale about silk origins begins when Si-Ling-Chi, a Chinese empress, was walking through her garden holding her cup of tea. A silkworm cocoon fell into her cup, and when it was pulled out, it began to unravel into long, beautiful string, or silk. Si-Ling-Chi investigating the origin of the cocoon, she looked up to find a mulberry tree hanging over her and many small silkworms crawling around it. She concluded that the cocoon must have been from these caterpillars. This discovery began the production of silk in China. Secret of silk. The royal family of China kept the secret of silk to themselves for around 2,500 years. They sold the material to rulers of the West, but they did not reveal the secret of how it was sourced. In fact, in China there was a penalty for anyone who revealed the source of the shiny thread. This penalty was death. Misconceptions, or wrong ideas, were formed about how silk was produced. These included, the silk came from the petals of colorful flowers in the Chinese desert. Silk was made of soft soil. Silk came from an animal similar to a spider that ate so much it would burst open, and silk was found inside them. Silk was a fuzz that was found on particular leaves of certain trees. Story 1. There are many stories on how the silk secret escaped into the wider world. Story 1 is the story of how two monks told Emperor Justinian of Constantinople they had discovered the secret of silk after their visit to China. The monks were sent back to China to collect some mulberry shoots and silkworm eggs and bring them back to Constantinople for the emperor so that he could raise the silkworms himself and create his own silk. Many years later, in around 552 AD, the monks returned to Constantinople with the requested eggs and shoots. They had hidden them inside hollowed-out walking sticks so as not to be caught. This is how the silk industry in the West began. The secret soon spread from Constantinople throughout Europe. The trek the monks walked between Constantinople and China is now known as the Silk Road. Story 2. Another legend of how the secret of silk spread was that some Japanese men captured 4 Chinese maidens, who knew the silk secret, as well as mulberry shoots and eggs. Story 3. Another story is that a Chinese princess married an Indian prince. She smuggled silkworm eggs and mulberry shoots in her headdress, and those, along with her knowledge of silk production, meant that the culture spread to India. Rivalry. Regardless of which story is true, the rest of the history is known and documented. In the 13th century the English began making silk, yet due to their cool, damp climate, their efforts were mainly unsuccessful. In 1603, silkworm eggs and mulberry seeds were sent, by the order of King James I, to Virginia, and thus the silk culture began in America. This was in an effort to have the American colonists raise the silk for the English, in order to rival the French and Italians in silk production. Virginia and Georgia produced silk on and off until they discovered other more profitable industries and stopped silk production. American silk. In 1760, a man from Men's Jayfield, named Nathaniel Aspinwall, began to promote silk to nearby towns. He had planted an orchard in Mansfield and in 1762, brought in silkworm eggs together with Dr. Ezra Stiles. He had a legislature passed that paid 10 shillings for every 100 mulberry trees planted and 3 pence per ounce of raw silk. By 1800, 3/4 of the people in Mansfield were raising silkworms at their homes. Silk production today, China and India are the 2 leading producers of silk, followed by Uzbekistan, Thailand, Brazil, Vietnam, North Korea, and Turkey. However, there are no silkworms left in the wild as they have all been domesticated for silk production. India is also a major producer of piece silk, a silk that is produced without harm to the larvae. P.